We're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Great Minds Drink Alike, where I bring the coolest people, the best marketers on the planet, entrepreneurs. And we have a conversation at the end of the week and about what makes them successful, about what they're famous for, and of course, to have a drink.
John Maxwell is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, coach, and speaker who has sold more than 24 million books in 50 languages. Often called the country's #1 leadership authority, Maxwell was identified as the most popular leadership expert in the world by Inc. magazine in 2014. He is the founder of the John Maxwell Company, the John Maxwell Team, and Equip, a nonprofit organization that has trained more than 5 million leaders in 180 countries. Each year, Maxwell speaks to Fortune 500 companies, presidents of nations, and many of the world's top business leaders. 3 of Maxwell's books, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, Developing the Leader Within You, and the 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader, have each sold over 1 million copies.
John, you mentioned the law of process, and you have the 5 levels of leadership, which I really love because what it did for me is it helped me kind of assess where I am and where do I need to go. And it also helped me understand that with some people, I'm at this level, and with this group over here, I'm at a different level. So can you talk about that a little bit?
I'll be glad to. I wrote a book called The 5 Levels of Leadership, and it's kind of like a model that a lot of companies use to develop themselves and develop their people. And it really does fit the law of process, Robin, because leadership is a verb, not a noun. People that think it's a noun think that leadership is a title or a position or an office or whatever, but it's a verb. It's ongoing. It's action. So the 5 levels of leadership, the lowest level of all is the position level. And basically what I teach is it's a great place to start. It's not a great place to stay. Because every time you climb another level of leadership, you gain influence. Funny, quick story. I was in Abu Dhabi a couple of years ago, and I was speaking to about 2,000 people there. And they asked me specifically to do the 5 levels of leadership, which I said, fine, no problem. And so I'd spoken earlier that day, and so I came to this place in just about an hour before I speak. And I looked out, and I'm going to speak on the 5 levels of leadership, which is the lowest level is position. And on the front row are 12 thrones.
Thrones?
Thrones.
Like as in a king or a queen?
Here comes the king, here comes the royal family. Okay. And they have thrones, and they're on the front row. And I thought, and I'm going to teach the 5 levels of leadership, which the lowest level is position.
Okay, so right away,
yeah.
Right, who's going to sit in those seats?
Yeah, I thought, I may never go back home. They may stick a cigarette in my mouth and, blindfold. This could be it. I'm talking about the 5 levels and these kings and all the royal family got the thrones. But the lowest level is the position level. And
so they're following you because you're the owner.
Yeah, I'm the boss. It goes to this,
yeah,
Robin.
You're my manager.
I'm the boss. Do what I say. Okay. Who's the boss around here? Who's the supervisor? Well, that's got a very short leash. So we start there, but we don't stay there. By the way, 80% of the people in leadership stay there. Mm-hmm. They literally never leave that position level. The second level is the permission level. And this is where you begin to develop good relationships with people. And I call it the permission level because at that level, Robin, the people in the organization want you to lead them because you now connect them. And the difference between level 1 and level 2 is at level number 2, you get a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. At level 1, you get no energy. So the energy is infused in an organization when you become what I call a permission leader. You're a level 2 relationships. Okay, people follow you because they know that you care for them. The third level is that now we're at the production level, and what makes the production level important in a leader's life is the fact that the only credibility that you really have to lead is that you're successful yourself. I mean, just think about it. I mean, who wants to follow somebody that's not successful? So you have to, some stage in your life, to have credibility as a leader, and moral authority, you have to be able to be successful. You have to say, this is what I built, this is what I did, this is my organization, this is what we're producing. So that's level number 3, and that's where you get your credibility as a leader. But that doesn't make you a leader, but it's where you get the credibility. Level 4 is the people development level. And this is, we always work hard to get people to go to level 4, because once I can get people developing other people, Robin, then life gets real good, real quick. All compounding is at level number 4. And then level number 5 is what we call the pinnacle level. And at that level, people follow you because you've done so well with so many that you start to become bigger than life.
Like Dr. Cobain.
Yes, and like Nito. Oh, that's a perfect example. Yeah, he's a level 5. He's
Absolutely.
a level 5 leader, without any question about it. And so what I teach people is very simple, that not only do you have to climb those levels, but you have to know what levels your people are on with you. Because you're not on the same level with the people or everybody in your organization. Like for somebody who comes new in your organization, you're already on. You start at level 1 position level with them. They don't have a relationship with you yet, and so what you do is you begin to identify what level am I on with that person, and this is what works. I do this for Delta. I do this for Microsoft. This works. This is pure gold. I tell leaders very simple. Identify what level you're on what level am I on with Robin? And my goal for the next 12 months is to raise her 1 level. So whatever level she's on, bring her up 1. Just think what happens if you do that with everybody on your team. Now you have a big multiplying, compounding effect. So that's the law of process. It really fits well there because, again, it's a verb. You're constantly growing. You're constantly going, hopefully, higher. And it's simple and it works.
No, I love that. I love that idea because, there's people who come to me and they say, I pay these people. Why don't they do what I tell them to do? And we've all had that frustration, including myself, where you say, okay, well, I'm the boss and I'm paying them and I've given them a job description. Why aren't they doing what I asked them to do? These dum-dums, you know what I mean? And really, I think that's the personal development side of extreme ownership, which is saying, my people are a reflection of me as a leader.
Totally.
and owning that. So.
Totally. And by the way, Robin, when you have to tell people you're the leader, you're not.
Yeah, it was. It's
always amusing.
I think it was Queen Elizabeth that said, if you had to explain to somebody you are a lady, you probably aren't.
That's
same
same thing with leadership. Yeah.
All right, let's go over here for questions.
I want to say something to you. I want to say thank you because you have put me on my path. In 1980, I got Think on These Things that you wrote.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm aging myself here.
That was my first book.
I know, and I have probably about 50 to 55 books and workbooks of yours at my house in my office.
Oh, you may be my favorite person.
But my mom and my grandmother told me I really needed to read that book in order to set my course for my career.
Wow. What a gift!
Yes.
For your mother and your grandmother.
Yes, they gave that to me when I
good.
got out of college and told me when I got my first full-time job, this is the book you need to read to get you on your path. So I wanted to say thank you because it was very inspirational to me.
And she's very successful.
Well, I thank you thank you very much. The reason I'm just so happy to talk to you for a moment is that this was my first book, and it wasn't any good.
But it was. It really gave me a lot of insight.
I'm sorry. What's your first name?
Bridget.
Bridget. Okay. Let me tell you a story, Bridget. I literally had somebody come to me with the book, Think on These Things.
I'm sorry?
I had somebody come to me with that book, Think on These Things, and they wanted me to sign it. Okay. And so I said, okay, I'll be glad to sign it. And she said, I love this book. And I said, what do you love about it? And she said, the short chapters.
I know. Will said, did you bring it so he could sign it? I said, no. I said, it is so worn that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I keep it actually in a big baggie kind of thing so that I don't lose any of it.
That's so well. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Did you have a question, or did you just want to say?
No, that's what I wanted to tell you. Thank you so much.
My God. Oh, thank you, Bridget. That's so fun.
you know, but I think
That is
isn't that
so
the great
fun.
thing that you know you can write something and that really can impact people, because that's what Cobain was talking about, having impact on people, and it's so rewarding.
I started writing, Robin, because my mentor, named Les Parrott, had written 6 books. I had no desire to write a book at all. And we were having a lunch one day, and I asked him, I said, why do you write books? And he said, I write books to influence people that I'll never know. And the moment he said that, I leaned over right at the table, I said, I'm going to start writing books. And little did I know that, 88 books later or whatever, 36 million copies sold, and the whole little did I know how that would really be. It's like you, Bridget. Today I get to meet you, but the book and that's the way with me. Some of my earliest mentors weren't people live; they were books that they wrote. You know that.
Exactly.
Sure.
All right, so let's see over here.
So I have a bunch of questions, but I saw you in Live to Lead. You were amazing. And
Good.
I
What's your
picked
name?
Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. My name's John. Nice to meet you.
And you're my friend.
Yeah.
I think my best question is, when you're talking about someone who you want them to think, how far can I go?
Yes.
But they say, but I've gotten there because my list says I did it and I crossed off my list, so I'm done. How do you get them to shift that mindset to know there's more and not fight you on it?
I wrote a book, Michelle, called Leader Shift. And there are 11 shifts that I think leaders have to make in their leadership life. And one of them that I made was going from goal setting to growth. And by the way, I think goal setting is fine. My first development in personal growth was Paul Meyer's, out of Waco, Texas, goal setting kit that I got. So I'm not opposed to goal setting. But in goal setting, there are finish lines or there are deadlines. And what I discovered was that when sometimes we hit that whatever that finish line is, we say, what's next? And what I learned was that if I would be growth oriented instead of goal oriented, I would hit all the goals in my life, but I would keep growing. So when I was 27, I determined, Robin, for me, that there were 5 things that I needed to continually grow in. Because the question is not, are you growing? The question, are you growing in areas that are going to give you a return? It's back to the law of priorities. And so the five things I've committed my life to growth in for 50 years are communication, which I consider that to be the most important skill for a person to be successful in, because, well, Warren Buffett says, without question, if you want to raise your net worth, he said, you'll be 50% there if you know how to communicate, because we're always communicating, vision, et cetera. So I said communication, leadership, empowerment, and equipping, the ability to equip and train, to develop teams so you can compound yourself, attitude development, and relationships. And I said, I'm going to take those 5 areas, and that's where I'm going to read those areas, study those areas, talk to people, ask questions in those areas. And for 50 years, those have been the 5 lanes that I've traveled. And then I started trying to write my books in one of those 5 areas. And I just think that for your friend or for anyone else, in fact, there's a book I'm going to write, but I have a whole bunch of books I'm going to write. But there's a book I'm going to write called Is There a Finish Line? And it's a great question, and for some people, there is a finish line. In other words, there are people who say, well, when I get a certain age, I'll retire. When I make so much money, I'll stop. And they have finish lines. And they're what I call, self-imposed finish lines. And I'm not opposed to that, but I just would want a person to know that if you have a finish line, when you cross it, you're finished. Now, what part of that appeals to you? I mean, honest to God, I know people, they are living, but honestly, they're officially alive, but they're already dead. And I don't think that my father, who just died at 98 a couple years ago, my father at 95, when we were having lunch one day, said, John, I think my best days are still ahead of me. That's huge. He has no, and I have no finish line. So if you have no finish line, what happens is you keep learning, you keep growing. You keep expanding your world. I mean, I'm just having the time of my life, still learning. I'm still curious. And so what I tell your friend is, if you want to have a finish line, that's your call. But I'm just here to tell you that it will almost always stunt it'll keep you from reaching your potential. And that's, that's what I be growth oriented more than goal
I
oriented.
wonder if it's more like milestones, if you kind of think of it as a
I like that,
milestone
yeah.
instead of a finish line, in
Yeah, I do,
this
yeah.
journey. Because
That's right.
I think a lot of the, they always say, well, what's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of life? Why are we here? And for me, I think it's always to become the best version of myself that I can. Mm-hmm. So that's never ending, because I can always be a better version of
Totally.
myself. Yeah. So, all right,
Yeah.
let's go.
I've known people to hit goals, but I've never heard a person say, I've grown to as great as I could ever be.
Exactly.
There's always room for
to be the
improvement.
best version of yourself.
Yes.
Hi, so my name's Leah, and the people in this room, we're all here because we want to grow our businesses. And so your 20th law, the law of explosive growth,
Yeah.
really speaks to why a lot of us are here. And the concept of being able to develop, the selection of certain people to bring them on so you can do the multiplication. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Maybe give us some guidance and advice about selecting those people, growing them, and the force multiplier?
Leah, it's a terrific question. It's a question we could spend a lot of time on. First of all, remember today I just briefly hit on the law of magnetism. We attract who we are, not who we want. And so when I tell people the greatest way to grow your company is to grow leaders, it's just the greatest way to grow your company. So you have to be a leader, because you can only attract people if you lead well. So I always say to people, invest in yourself first. It's not a selfish thing. It's the only way that you can continue to invest in others. You cannot give what you do not have. So Leah, develop yourself, grow yourself as a leader. And then when you begin to look at the qualities that you want of the people around you, you don't want to set a lot, but you want to set a few. And for example, when I go look for a leader, the first thing I ask myself is, do they produce? Because honestly, if a person can't produce, they have no credibility to lead. So they have to be now, just because you can produce doesn't mean you can lead either. It may be, there are a lot of people that are just good at themselves. I mean, they're just kind of a one-person show. And so I want to make sure they can produce, because if they can produce, at least now they have the credibility that if I can teach them to lead, to look at people and say, literally, follow me. So I look for the ability to produce, or the ability to build something. And then I look for a person that has good character, and the qualities of a person that has good values. Because again, if without good values, you begin to manipulate people and you just misuse them. So I look for great values. And then I look for people that really are influential. When I say influential, they have the ability to draw people to them. That when they move, people want to go with them. And they're natural, what I call natural influencers, which again is a real important quality. Now, I only gave you 3. There are more, but you get the idea. I wrote a book called The 21 Qualities of a Leader. And Leah, if you'll read that book, that's kind of like the picture book of what a leader looks like, and just start there. And don't take, you may say, I like 12 of those. But get those 12, and then when you begin interviewing, always have those 12 qualities in front of you. And ask open-ended questions. Don't ask them if they're trustworthy. What are they going to say? Of course they're trustworthy. I mean, they just got.
Well, they might say no, and then they're honest. Yeah. I mean, so there's.
All right. Yeah. That's a whole different way to look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, we yin and yang on that one. But you follow me. So just get those qualities, and then open-ended questions helps you to know if they have those qualities, and you check them off, and that's one of the ways to kind of figure out who you should hire.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Good
All right,
question.
we're going to make these the final 2. Can you go quick? Because they're flashing the light again at us. They're very serious.
Who in the world?
Okay.
Robin.
Poor Austin. Austin's back there doing his job.
Are you mentoring these people? Because that little fly. Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. 2
yes,
questions
sir.
we'll do quick.
Yes,
okay.
my friend.
Good news, I only ask short questions. So my name is Stuart, and in the next few years, I plan on starting a business incubator with the goal of helping entrepreneurs basically get the systems and the structure to be able to export their goods. And
Wow.
the goal is to try to make it so that these folks can have access to tools, systems, processes, and training that they might otherwise lack. Now, my question to you is there a place, is there some sort of thing that I should be starting with, curriculum or something like that, that might be good in a situation where I'm working with, and if you say 21 Laws of Leadership, I'll just, irrefutable, I'll sit down, but is there something that would be good, that would be maybe a place, like a primer to help somebody going from maybe that solo entrepreneur into a situation where they might start to build a team?
Yeah, Stuart, it's a great question. You've already well thought it out, I can tell. So that you're already really on your way. But when I try to help people in any kind of area, I realize that one of the things I'm going to have to work with them on is their thinking, how they think. The greatest gap between people that are successful and unsuccessful people is how they think. Not IQ, but how they think. And in fact, I wrote a book a few years ago called How Successful People Think. And it's their 11 qualities. So I would work on that, and the other one I would talk would be the laws of growth, because what I've also discovered is you cannot build anything beyond your ability to grow. And what the value of personal growth, Stuart, is very simple. It increases your growth capacity, and that's huge. And so when you go to the gym, you increase energy capacity. So those are two things. As you get technical and give them all the how-tos and things, their perspective, how they think, that's just absolutely huge. And their commitment to personally grow, those two things I would put on it and go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job,
Okay,
Stuart.
final question?
Hi, my name is Chris. It's nice to meet you and see you in person. I've watched many of your videos, and both of you, I want to say thank you for what you do. You've been a huge inspiration to me. That goes to you as well, Robin.
Thank you.
My question is two parts. I'm not at this point yet, but I want to lead people. I want to be in a position to where I can change people's lives. And I foresee being in a position where I'm a leader of people that are older than me.
Sure.
And that doesn't always go over well for people. For those in those situations, what do you recommend? And if you run into problems with them, how do you navigate them?
Yeah, when I was a young leader, I had that challenge. I had that challenge for probably a 10, 12 years because, I was just very young. I was 23, 24, had leadership responsibilities to people twice, 3 times my age. And they would come to me and they would just say, I have a hard time following you. You're just a kid. I have children your age. And I would look at them and say, I understand. In fact, I have a hard time following me myself sometimes. And then I would look at them, and what I learned a long time ago is the first thing you do in any kind of relationship where you have to lead people, but you're not qualified by experience, age, or whatever, is to make them your ally. And so what I would tell them is, I would say, I have expertise in a few areas just because of my education, but I don't have any experience. So would you help me lead well? And I made them partners of mine, and I will promise you, the moment that they could help me, they became an ally and an asset to me. And those beautiful people took this kid and just took me right to the top with them. And I always I always say, if you wouldn't have helped me with that, if you wouldn't have taught that to me, I wouldn't have made it. So thank you very much. And that's what you do. You don't try to lead them. You just ask them to help you lead. And then all of a sudden, while they help you lead, guess what? They're going with you because they have to go with you to help you lead. So that's what I would see. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's true, if a leader comes in, because we've had people who've come in, even our organization as a leader, and they don't know the industry. So they might have experience somewhere else, but they don't have that. And the ones who failed are ones who came in and didn't do what you're saying. They went to the I'm boss,
Yep.
and therefore,
Power up.
yeah, I'm going to change things, instead of saying, let me kind of figure out what's going on here. And also, I'd also say, here's the thing that I'm just speaking from what I've experienced in my limited, running of a company, and that what a leader can do if you're new is remove the irritants. I'm going to stay in the Nito theme. If you can remove the irritants to the people, when you come in, instead of saying, okay, we're going to do it this way and that way, first of all, where are we going? Make sure we're all clear on what we're trying to accomplish here. But then be the person who removes the irritants, not tells you, here's what you're going to do different. Like, what's irritating you and preventing you from being the best you can be? And let me go remove those, and you win them over by doing that as well.
Yeah, of course, Nito does that very well. Carly Fiorina, who was CEO, is a wonderful friend. That's exactly how she got from, literally, she started off as a secretary and went all the way to the top. And she solved problems and removed the irritants, and people just kept pushing her up the ladder.
Right, you gain a
Yeah.
lot of
Very true.
credibility. So always remember that.
Yeah.
If you can be helpful to people, instead of it's the servant. I mean, if we look at Jesus, I mean, he was a servant, and he didn't come in and say this is the way. He led and he loved people and removed irritants. So
Totally.
and you're a pastor, you know this, right? So I mean, you
Yeah.
should be saying this, not me.
No, I think you're doing a very good job. In fact-
Okay, all
in
right,
fact,
well,
why would I add to something that's already said very, very well?
All right. Well,
But-
thank you. So
Thank
you have been a joy, a delight. I am
Thank you.
so glad that you are here with us.
Thank you,
everybody. John Maxwell.
Thank you. Thank you. God.